Hello friends, my name is RagePanda1 and today I have a little bit of an extra surprise for you on the build guide video for the Estorir clan. I am joined here today with another member of the Bloodline Weavers program, and that is Teallinum. And we decided to do a little bit of an art challenge to spice up the video for you. We each drew each other a bit of line art, and then we swapped pictures and we rendered them for each other, and it was a lot of fun. So, the line art of these is basically a coloring book page, and if you'd like to have access to those so you can color it yourself, you can go ahead and find that on my Discord. With all that being said, there's not that much video going around about this clan right now, and it's because they have limited excitement around them. However, I have changed my opinion a little bit about the female, and because of that, we're gonna start with the male, so hopefully you watch to the end. Please? I worked so hard. If you would like a full breakdown of all of the skills of these characters, then you can find that in my first look video, which will probably be in the card at the end. But we're here to talk about builds. And the builds are actually basically the same no matter which one of these guys you happen to use on your team. And if you're using both of them, which you realistically could do if you wanted to, I've got a build for that as well. Now, one bonus of this clan is that their clan trait is actually very strong. It's not as strong as it could be. If it said that it also applied on normal attacks, then it would be even better, but it doesn't say that, so it's only okay. But if you mix it with the rest of the team buffing traits, you could get quite a solid effect from it. And that's exactly what we're going to try to do here. On this character, we're going to have energetic and honorable every time, without question. There's no reason to not have those two things. You definitely want them. After that, because both of these characters have life save effects, and it's likely that they're going to stay on the field for quite a long time, we're going to put hulking and sanguine on these characters because they're going to stay on the field and their buffs should stay on the field as well. There has been some reports from Goat Games customer service that if you have any of these stacking team buffing traits, if your character dies and leaves the field, that the buff also leaves the field. However, I don't know if we can really trust it or not. I guess we operate under the assumption that that does work that way, and then if we're wrong, we're not burned as badly. Now, neither of these characters actually benefit from having any extra strength, which is great because it actually frees up a lot of trait slots for them. It also makes it so that steadfast is not good. There are a lot of times where we use steadfast to be a tanky trait for people, but that's when they already have some sort of strength, and we're going to be buffing their strength anyway, and this is not that situation. So I would not recommend steadfast here. I would not recommend brutal, no aggressive, no fierce. That's not what we're here for. Now, since I've given you a build that you're going to be able to apply to either of these characters, I do want to further amend that in case you're using both of these characters, because hulking and sanguine do not stack. You still want to have energetic and honorable, but if you're using them both, then the female, instead of using hulking and sanguine, she's going to try to use the Kavak trait impair, as well as having rapid shots on the character because those are solid team buffs as well. If you don't have access to those, you could be looking at stuff like demoralize or possibly even cold snap. If you find that you don't have any of these clan traits available to you, then you're likely to end up using something like Agile just to get a faster ultimate, or you might even use Loyal in this situation, which is not going to help you that much and you don't want to have to use it. But if you've got nothing else, there's no point in raising our strength here. You may as well just raise your tankiness any way you can. And for the female, if you're in the early game, then healthy could be good. But if you're not in the early game, hopefully you got some clan traits to go on by then. Otherwise, you're going to have some wasted trait slots. So now that we understand traits a little better for this clan, and luckily they're simple for this clan, what are we going to actually do to build a team around them, or what teams can they help out with? Well, I see one major use for the male, and it's not really a standard use that a lot of people consider, but when you're defending nodes in games like Guild Conquest and Valley of Conquerors, even when you're defending on your arena team, if the time runs out, you win the match. A lot of people are not aware of that. If somebody attacks you and time runs out, no matter what, the defender wins the match. Because of that, if you put this guy with a bunch of healers and a male Galabar, just the whole team just lives forever. Maybe not the whole team, but at least two of the guys are going to live for a real long time. And the odds that you're going to actually hit that timer are pretty high. So it could potentially be really good for that and really annoying, and people will be very mad at you, and they'll be typing away in their Valley of Conquerors chat saying how you're doing a mean thing and it's not nice to do. It's true. It wouldn't be very nice to do, but it would be very strong. So if you're looking for a team to walk around, not be great at attacking, but be very strong at holding a node, then this guy could be really good for that, especially in combination with that male Galabar. Another thing that he's a little bit good for is that we're building a whole lot of crowd control. And part of the reason we're doing that is because we need to interrupt the ultimates of people like the male Water and Sun. He can give a little protection against crowd control. Nobody in the game is permanently immune to crowd control, so anybody can benefit from this. But there are certain people who benefit a little more, and somebody like the male Water and Sun that wants to continuously be ulting to gain extra effect, having it so that he cannot be stunned out of that is huge, especially since that character is still overpowered. I do think that this guy does a decent job of preventing your team from taking some damage, but I think that he could be preventing the team from taking more damage if he was applying stuns and crowd control and things like that. And the trade-off here is not necessarily generally going to be worth it, but we're going to have more information on that as the week progresses. I have a whole team of sleuths going around doing some testing, trying to figure out what's good, what's bad, and I think that we're starting to narrow it down to what we like. One thing's for sure, if you're putting this guy on the team, you need to have a reason that you're putting this guy on the team. He's not a guy you just slot in and have a good time. But if you're planning on defending nodes, or if you have a bunch of squishy people on your team that really need some immunity during the ult phase, he can be really great for that. Now on to the female. This one's pretty exciting because I've slightly changed my tune on this. I think she's a little more useful than I originally felt like she was. I think that she's about tied with female Bjorn Krieger, and to be honest, they do just about the same thing. Both of their passives are going to keep them on the battlefield longer. That's basically the same effect. And when you couple the immunity phases with the fact that she's hurting herself, it sort of balances out in tankiness. It's not like one is very clearly tankier than the other. And actually, if we look at the ultimate, we're getting basically the same effect. We're getting an AoE damage ability that's going to do some damage, but nothing crazy. We're getting a lot of anti-heal. She actually has more anti-heal than the female Bjorn Krieger, and I think that could be super helpful, but there's not really a good way to justify helping her get to her ultimate faster, unless of course you're using rapid shots and for some reason you don't have the Kavak trait yet, you want to put agile on her. You might be getting more ultimates that way, but it's not the ideal build. On top of the anti-heal that we're getting from the ultimate, we're also getting stuns, which we get from the female Bjorn Krieger's ult as well. It's interesting to think that they might actually be a decent pair if they were on opposite sides of the field, maybe on slots 1 and 3, and you're spreading the team out a little bit, the enemy team, but you're still hitting them with a huge amount of anti-heal. When it comes to the ult phase, there could be something there, but I don't think it's necessarily the best possible scenario. Now we do also have a fortitude reducing effect on both of these characters, which I find to be quite interesting. The female Bjorn Krieger's is considerably better. It's just way better. When you have her in the middle of a team and they're all doing basic attacks to you, you take almost 0 damage because of the way that Fortitude works. And you won't get that effect with this character that we're looking at now, but she does go into immune phases where she's just immune to all damage, so it's a bit of a trade-off there. One thing that's nice here is that when we have our Ice Domain status up and when we're in our ult, we're hitting multiple times, which makes the Kavak trait actually pretty useful on her. And I would say it's potentially even more useful than it is on the female Bjorn Krieger, because the breath seems to have a better pattern for hitting more enemies, and we have the constant ticking active skill, which is going to apply that buff more than one time to a bunch of people. Whereas with the female Bjorn Krieger, we're going to pull somebody in, which might count as hitting them, and then we're going to hit everybody in front of us, which will apply a stack. So I don't think that this character is worth summoning if you already have a female Bjorn Krieger. They basically do the same thing. It's a little crazy to me how similar these characters are between the female Bjorn Krieger and the female Estorir. So if you already have a female Bjorn Krieger, she's a great character. You probably don't need to summon on this one. If you missed the female Bjorn Krieger and you missed even the Akuna clan and you're lacking on anti-heal right now, then this character might fill a slot in your team that you really need to be filled. You need strong anti-heal. You need it to be area of effect, and you need it to be especially strong in the ultimate phase. This character does that. So I think that the Bjorn Krieger clan is better to have summoned on if you could go back in time and do it, But if you already missed it, then this is a great way to catch up. If you want to make the most of her, I do think that she can do a little more damage than the female Bjorn Krieger can, and they do it in sort of the same way. You want people to be gathered together in one area as much as possible so you can hit the ult on everybody, and so that your polar storm can be ticking on as many people as possible. I have seen some videos of this character in action, although the team was not pulling in all of the enemies, and we were seeing actually some damage coming out, and I feel like if we were looking at the entire enemy team being grouped up into one spot, we might get some impressive numbers from her for a tank. I think it's actually possible that in the right situation, you could do half as much as one of your main damage dealers. And for being a tank, that's a lot. And luckily with the female, I think that she's a general use champion. You can put her on most teams and she'll be fairly effective. But if you wanted her to be her most effective, then you would be pulling people in. She's really that easy to use, and that can be really nice, especially for newer players. So even though I love my female Bjorn Krieger, I am almost talking myself into summoning dragons, because they're dragons! They are dragons. Now, I will be updating throughout the week, and in my streams, we're going to be talking about their effectiveness even more once we've had more time to do some testing. But since I'm trying to get people to do testing, I need to tell them how to build the characters, and that's what this video is for. If you liked having the art going along with the descriptions, then please take the time to make a comment and let me know that you enjoyed having that in the video. It does considerably add to the time that I spend in creating a video, but it's also a thing I really love to do, and it was a lot of fun. And a big thank you to Teallinum for joining me in this. Sort of blindly, I just asked for a collaborator and she stepped up to the plate and knocked it out of the park. The artwork looks fantastic, and there will be a link to her Twitter in the description where you can go to perhaps get a commission done of some art that you are looking for, or just to see the sort of stuff that she's been up to artistically speaking. For now, I want to thank you for watching. I have been RagePanda1, and I will see you in the next one.